This is the story of Jack and his dream. Once upon a time, there lived a young boy named Jack who dreamed of being great. That's not a novel way to begin a fairy tale, except that Jack dreamed of being a computer. The walls of his bedroom were covered with posters and photographs of computers. He read books about them and even went to see them in the offices of large corporations. Jack was fascinated by their magical, if not unlimited, power. Someday, he dreamed, I will be a giant computer. That would be better than being some football hero or some rock music star. Just think of it, whispered his imagination. You'll never forget anything. You will be able to remember every telephone and car number plate, every name and fact you ever hear. And your powers of calculation, why, what would take 100 scientists over 50 years to estimate, you will do in a split second. Best of all, you will never make a mistake, as long as your printed circuitry is working properly. You will always have the correct answer. Power, fame, and wealth will be yours. Now, as so often happens in life when people dream and fill their hearts with a single wish, that dream comes true. So as he grew up and matured, Jack became a computer. No ordinary mortal, he became what he had always dreamed of being, an efficient, all-knowing computer. As a result, Jack was quickly promoted in his company. His qualifications were many. He never wasted time on coffee breaks, never slipped away for a siesta, and performed all his work with split-second speed. Jack never wasted time on such unnecessary words like please or thank you, or even excuse me, I'm sorry. Machines have no need for such terms. The board of directors of the company had their eye on this amazing young man, for his gifts were so numerous. Not only was he efficient and hard-working, Jack was ideal for firing or correcting those employees who had erred in some way. The correction came from Jack in clear, right-to-the-point words. Since he was a computer, he was unable to shade his words with tenderness or humour. Ah, indeed, the truth does hurt if it comes from a computer. Reality without humour is strong medicine. The employees would shudder whenever they were told, Jack wants to see you in his office. Now you might ask, if Jack worked hard, never took a vacation, and even if he never made a mistake, was he a happy man? The answer, friends, is well, yes and no. He wasn't happy and he wasn't sad. Jack simply was. Computers hum away to a special electric melody and rejoice in frequent checkups and in being kept clean and well oiled. Most of all, machines like Jack love to be valued. A special sensual thrill is theirs when they realise that others depend on them, even to the degree that they would be helpless without their special skills. Now, in all fairness to Jack, it is important for us to remember that he did not realise that he was a machine. The transformation from human to machine took years and years, and of course he did not look like a computer, except for the computer keyboard that was located on his chest, hidden beneath his shirt. He was a most ordinary looking businessman, but inside it was different. In place of a heart was a small silicone chip that stored billions of bits of information, and in place of nerves were miles of electric circuitry. Since Jack lived in a world of machines, he did not feel like an alien. A good number of his associates were also computers, especially those nearer the top of the company. But everything was not as perfect as it seemed on the surface. There were problems. For example, when Jack would drive home after work, he would on occasions see a sunset. The sunset could not be programmed. Or he could calculate the precise angle of the descent of the sun, or even the heat ratio of the ultraviolet rays, but he could not taste the sunset. Jack found no pleasure in watching the sun gently descend into luminous pools of orange and yellow light. And then there was the problem with music. Jack could list for you all the great composers in alphabetical order. He could give you the complete history of music from the cave to the concert hall. But Jack could not enjoy the sound of music. He had once read that the enchanted ones could actually find sensual pleasure in watching the sunset. That these enchanted ones could be thrilled by the very sound of music and have absolutely no desire to know the vast mathematical combinations of its tonal scale. Jack wondered what it would be like to be enchanted, and he found the thought to be absolutely frightening. He realised that everything for which he had laboured so hard, his power, his very efficiency, would be in grave jeopardy if he would become a fun-loving, enchanted person. No, he thought, I must be very careful that I am never bewitched. Being bewitched is the result of coming into direct contact with a witch. Now, it is important to remember that over the years witches have suffered badly from an unkind press. Witches are usually seen as evil, curse-spinning, ugly women. Wizards, since they have better press agents, are usually viewed as kind and wise and magical persons. But male or female, enchantment is the occupation of witches and wizards. I've explained this wee bit of history because in the apartment next to Jack there lived a good and beautiful witch. Her name was Angela. Actually, her full name was Angela the Enchanted. I might add that she drove a blue Toyota and did not ride to work on a broom. Late each day, Angela the Enchanted would go out on her patio porch and sit in silence. After a brief period of time sitting very still with her eyes closed, she would open them and drink in the sunset. The same pattern was followed in the morning. However, she would be on the other side of the apartment house sitting on a friend's patio. There she would taste the symphony of the sunrise. Angela also had powers of vision. She could see inside things. She could also hear silent music. Her powers were many. She was even able to hear poetry in the dripping of a kitchen tap. Angela was cheerful and happy, and friends loved to be in her company. It was great fun just being in the presence of someone whose profession was enchantment. Simple meals became feasts. Mistakes were decorated with humour, and gentleness oozed out of her in all four directions. Now, it happened that our hero, Jack, the computer, had to attend a formal dinner with the executives of the corporation. His boss urged him not to come alone, but rather to bring a date, since the big bosses loved to see their employees as fun-loving, normal individuals. So obediently, Jack looked around for someone to take to the dinner. He decided, even though he was a bit fearful, that he would ask his neighbour, Angela. The formal dinner proceeded with perfect precision. Jack wasn't happy and he wasn't sad. He was pleased, however, that everything from soup to dessert was so orderly and efficient. At the table, Jack did not taste his food. He was too busy talking. Facts, figures, dates and events all poured out of him with electric eloquence. Angela listened quietly, sensually enjoying her food, smiling and looking just absolutely ravishing. The boss looked down the long table and beamed. What a beautiful woman, and with that beautifully efficient mind of Jack's, what a combination that couple could make. After dinner, as they were driving back home to their apartment complex, Angela frightened Jack by asking, "Can we pull over and stop and just watch the moon?" Every fear programmed into Jack surfaced at once. Angela must be one of the enchanted ones. God help me, what will I do if she tries to bewitch me? Thought Jack, as he slid over as far as he could to his side of the car seat. Jack immediately punched a key into his computer keyboard, the one marked IBM Emergency Information, code 107. Instantly the printout began. Do not eat apples given you by strangers. Do not prick your finger on a needle. Do not remove the cork from a bottle found floating in the sea. Do not, etc., etc. The list went on, giving all the various forms of enchantment ritual. All this while, Angela was lost in the serene beauty of the moon as it rose slowly over the treetops, flooding the valley with pale white light. While she did, inside her a song was being chanted. For you see, enchantment is the result of chanting. An enchanted person is simply one whose lifestyle is that of singing the same song. A spell was being cast and spun around Jack. Angela was not bewitching Jack. Rather, she was enchanting him. Jack had been bewitched for years. He had been IBM bewitched. That was the paradox. It was Jack who was cursed, and it was Angela who was enchanted. She had decided long before this night, because she was so strongly attracted to him, that it was more important for Jack to be happy than to be important. Angela's touch was powerful, and for the first time since he had been a small boy, Jack looked at the moon and did not have a single fact enter his head. A shiver of fear raced up his spine, climbing 3 vertebrae at a time. It was so pleasurable watching the moon, but forbidden, if not also sinful, for a machine to find such sensual delight in an experience that could not be measured or programmed. Angela moved closer to Jack and rested her head on his shoulder. As he watched the moon, she, with ease, unbuttoned his shirt. Her fingers slid inside to the computer keyboard on his chest, and she quickly typed a brief message. At once, Jack shot bolt upright, jerking with spurts of energy as red lights flashed across his computer screen. The printout read, 407, computer overload, 407. Jack couldn't understand what was happening. Angela once again gently typed the same message on the keyboard. This time loud alarm bells began ringing. Yellow and red lights zigzagged across his screen. 606 cannot compute. 606 cannot compute. 407 computer overload. Panic was written in Jack's eyes as Angela, for a third time, touched the computer keys and fed the same message to the mechanical maze inside Jack. This time all the lights on the screen began flashing. Bells and buzzers alternated alarm signals as information gushed forth in a confused, unintelligible stream. Then there was an explosion. Clouds of white smoke with sputtering sparks flew out in all directions, and a loud piercing screech from Jack shattered the peaceful night. He slumped over the steering wheel as if dead. For minutes he was unconscious. Then slowly he raised his head and, turning, looked at Angela. She was smiling. And suddenly Jack began to smile back. Then, for the first time in years, he broke into laughter. The sound was the same as that of giant ice fields in the Arctic, cracking in the spring thaw. And then he began to truly laugh, and the laughter came cascading down in torrents, giggling and swirling around Angela and filling that moon-touched night. Angela and Jack held each other tightly, and they never let go. In fact, they were married shortly after that date, and they lived happily together ever after. The end. But, you say, it can't be the end of the story. We never heard what it was that Angela typed into the computer that was once Jack. Yes, that's true. But if we really want to know, we might have to ask Angela, but we might guess and in the process come very close to the correct answer. Try it. Just ask yourself a simple question and you might know what it was that Angela fed to the computer that was once Jack. Take a few minutes to answer. Take several if you wish. But just ask yourself, what was the most beautiful thing that was ever said to me?